And a very good evening to you. This is the Famagusta Gazette in Nicosia. For the latest news, weather and features from the island, visit us online at www.famagusta-gazette.com. The former Liberal Democrat leader, Charles Kennedy, has died at the age of 55 in what close friends are saying was inevitable. Mr. Kennedy suffered from alcoholism for many years. The outspoken MP, Lempit Opik, said that Mr. Kennedy was suffering after losing his seat at the general election.
I was talking to one of the few remaining Lib Dem MPs, and we were saying Charles Kennedy has to get into the House of Lords. He has to have that kind of institutional support, because that is, in a sense, a safety blanket. It was a support for him. But alas, it's too late now. There was no support for him in these last days. And I have been really concerned that this was going to happen.
Mossad agents are expected on the island to be briefed by local police about the arrest of a man last week who was discovered with 2 tons of ammonium nitrate at his home. The man was detained at a residential address in Larnaca by counter-terrorism officials. 2 people have died in a blaze at a hotel in the coastal town of Kyrenia in the north of Cyprus. The fire broke out at the Serif Hotel Apartments at 5 a.m. yesterday morning. The cause of the blaze remains unknown. Serious human rights violations are still ongoing in Ukraine, despite a decrease in shelling in recent months. That's according to the United Nations. With more details, here's Daniel Johnson.
Assistant High Commissioner for Human Rights Ivan Simonovich said serious violations are ongoing in Ukraine. Rebels are particularly implicated in the allegations, which include summary executions, torture and human trafficking. But the responsibility of Ukrainian armed forces is also called into question. Casualty figures have dropped in line with the decrease in indiscriminate shelling in the east of the country, but the fact remains that February's Minsk ceasefire is still not being respected, Simonovich said.
John Whittingdale, the British Culture Secretary, has said that FIFA's support for Sepp Blatter was extremely disappointing. Speaking in the House of Commons, he said Blatter's credibility had been utterly destroyed. A whopping 31% of the population in Cyprus are smokers, despite 15% quitting cigarettes for good. That's according to new statistics released by the European Commission in Brussels. However, a report on EU citizens' attitudes towards smoking shows a downward trend in tobacco use right across the continent.
This is FG Radio, the international radio service of the Famagusta Gazette in Cyprus. Worldwide on shortwave, this is FG Radio.
This is News Review from FG Radio, the Famagusta Gazette. Now, work will begin to open the Darinya crossing point on the Green Line, as well as the Lefka crossing point, which is near Morphu on the west coast. These 2 new crossings have been announced by Espen Bartha Eid, the UN Special Representative in Cyprus. He's also said that the electricity grid and the cell phone network would be connected as well. These are all part of confidence-building measures between the 2 communities on Cyprus. For 41 years, the road at Darinya from south to north has been blocked. It's going to be opened. It's good news. I know that online, lots of people expressing their delight at that. The mayor of Darinya is Andros Karayanis. He joins FG Radio from Darinya now. I would imagine, Andros, you're pretty pleased about this?
To be honest with you, I'm very happy. But I'm waiting an official announcement, either by the President or someone else from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But to be honest, I'm very happy. I'm happy, but we are ready to open it as soon as possible. You know, it's only 800 meters, the distance between Darinya and Famagusta. The road down to Famagusta, the continuation of Famagusta Avenue. Famagusta Avenue is in Darinya. From the checkpoint down to Famagusta is only 800 meters. The road is in very bad condition because it is a road which was used before 1974. It is a very narrow road and it has to be wider, and we have to put better material on it. And we are ready. We are ready to help the people to drive straight down to Famagusta from Darinya. It will take them by car only 2 minutes.
And what do we know about the time frame here? When will work go ahead? What have they told you? Have the UN phoned you up and said, look, Mr. Mayor, we're going to open the crossing?
It would be nice if I had a contact from the UN or all the negotiators or whatever, but nobody contacted me except the journalist. Anyway, and the nice meeting we had on Monday with the President of the Republic. Nathan, I want to make a statement, and I want you to focus on this, please. The Rinia, we suffered so long, 41 years now. We have lost 75% of our territory. We have lost our very nice beach. We are losing our young people because there is no employment. Unemployment is very high in the Rinia. There is no place for them to have their houses built in order to stay, to settle down in the Rinia. So I think this is going to be a good economic boom for the Rinia and for Famagusta area in general. But we do not want to open crossing points just to open a new one or 6 new ones. We want finally to have reunification of the island of Cyprus. And I hope that this is going to be the first step in order to have a solution to the Cyprus problem.
Good to talk with you, Andros. Andros Karayanis, the Mayor of Dorinya, joining us on FG Radio from the Famagusta Gazette. Lots about that story on the website. Go there and you'll see dozens and dozens of articles, and you can hear that interview again on our YouTube channel, and there's lots of background information as well. Andros Karayanis joining us on FG Radio. He's the Mayor of Dorinya with some good news this week that the crossing point, which has been closed for the past 41 years, is going to open.
The Famagusta Gazette, the leading online news source for Southern Europe, with breaking news headlines and features from Cyprus, Greece, Turkey, and the entire region. The Famagusta Gazette, a trusted source of news and information since 2007. Stay up to date. www.famagusta-gazette.com.
A new trial suggests that a pair of cancer drugs can shrink tumours in nearly 60% of people. An international trial has just been concluded on 945 patients. Dr. Alan Worsley from Cancer Research UK explains how the drug works.
A combination of the two got many more patients than either drug alone to respond to the treatment and had quite impressive survival benefits. However, there were also quite a bit more severe side effects. So at this point, what we need to do is find out how we can match up the best combination of these new treatments.
At least 5 former senior officials of the Co-op Bank, the Bank of Cyprus and the Laki Bank will be arrested in the coming days. Local media reports the arrests concern loans which the banks authorised under favourable conditions. Tourism officials in Cyprus and the public have called on the government to employ more security staff at Paphos Airport, as they say long queues are becoming unbearable there. The airport is quickly gaining a reputation for inefficiency, with security queues often spiralling outside the building. Operator Hermes Airport said they've appealed to the government for more security staff. Keep up to date with the latest stories from the Famagusta Gazette, which is online at www.famagusta-gazette.com. Our website is updated 24 hours a day, and of course you can get there from the former EU News Network website, which is news-network.eu. That's news-network.eu.
For the latest news, weather and features from the island, visit us online at www.famagusta-gazette.com.
You're with FG Radio from the Famagusta Gazette. Now, serious human rights violations are still ongoing in the Ukraine, despite a decrease in shelling in recent months. That's according to the United Nations. With more on this story, here's Daniel Johnson.
Assistant High Commissioner for Human Rights Ivan Simonovich said serious violations are ongoing in Ukraine. Rebels are particularly implicated in the allegations, which include summary executions, torture and human trafficking. But the responsibility of Ukrainian armed forces is also called into question. Casualty figures have dropped in line with a decrease in indiscriminate shelling in the east of the country, but the fact remains that February's Minsk ceasefire is still not being respected, Simonovich said.
There is no doubt that fighting is decreasing. Unfortunately, Minsk is not being implemented, and this is certainly something which should be prevented because it would, on the long run, be very bad.
Simonovich also said that there was growing evidence of sophisticated weapons and armed fighters coming into Ukraine from the Russian Federation, and maybe some active servicemen too. Meanwhile, the head of the UN monitoring mission in Ukraine, Ahmed Harutyunyan, insisted that there was no alternative to the Minsk agreement. But he said the supply of fighters and weapons reaching the country were at the same level now as before the ceasefire. Daniel Johnson, United Nations.
La radio internationale en ondes courtes. Voici FG Radio, Chypre.
This is FG Radio. Let's recap on our main headlines. The former Liberal Democrat leader, Charles Kennedy, has died at the age of 55. He passed away at his home in Fort William, according to an announcement from his family. The BBC's political editor is John Pienaar.
When Charles was on form, he brought something to any discussion or to any sort of gathering or consideration of any subject. When he was leading his party during general election campaigns, when he was on the platform, look, everyone was aware some of the time that there was a weakness there was a flaw, but he still gave something to it that other people simply couldn't have given to politics or to a party or to a leadership campaign or to a general election campaign on the best form that they had to give. He was in his own way, really rather unique.
Mossad agents are expected in Cyprus to be briefed by local police about the arrest of a man last week after 2 tons of ammonium nitrate was found in his basement. The man was detained at a residential address in Larnaca by counter-terrorism officials last Wednesday. Reports in the local media suggest that the material could have been used to create a powerful bomb to target Israeli tourists, the Israeli embassy in Nicosia, or even places of worship. A passenger ship carrying more than 450 people has capsized on the Yangtze River in southern China. Hundreds of people are still missing as rescue efforts continue to be hampered by strong winds and heavy rain. Most of the passengers on board are tourists, aged around 50 to 80. 2 people have died in a blaze at a hotel in the coastal town of Kyrenia in the Turkish-occupied areas of Cyprus. The fire broke out at the Serif Hotel Apartments at 5 a.m. yesterday morning. And the British Culture Secretary John Whittingdale has said FIFA's support for Sepp Blatter was extremely disappointing. Speaking in the House of Commons, he said Blatter's credibility had been utterly destroyed.
FIFA's sponsors need to think long and hard about whether they want to be associated with such a discredited, disgraced organisation. For the good of the game, we must work together to bring about change. For the good of the game, it is time for Sepp Blatter to go.
And finally, the comedian Tracy Morgan says he has no recollection of the accident which left him with life-threatening injuries. He's just given his first interview since the collision.
The Famagusta Gazette, the leading online news source for Southern Europe, with breaking news headlines and features from Cyprus, Greece, Turkey, and the entire region. The Famagusta Gazette, a trusted source of news and information since 2007. Stay up to date. www.famagusta-gazette.com.
And that concludes this transmission from FG Radio in Nicosia.
Voici FG Radio, le service radio international de la Gazette de Famagusta à Chypre. Pour les dernières actualités, la météo ainsi que les attraits de l'île, visitez-nous en ligne sur www.famagusta-gazette.com. La radio internationale en ondes courtes. Voici FG Radio, Chypre.